one of the things that can happen in sort of like daily life, the kind of ongoing daily life experience, is that our brain goes into fight, flight, freeze, or submit. It goes into these 4 hardwire nervous system reactions. When that's happening, we're kind of retreating from the neocortex and going down to the middle brain and the lower brain, so the limbic brain and the lizard brain. And when we are there in the 2 lower brains, we have to promote ourselves to come upstairs to engage the neocortex again. There's a couple different ways to do that. I mean, there's many ways to do it, but a couple that are relevant for this morning. One is using attention and intention, and maybe even moving between the two. You'll see that in our yoga practice today. Another way to get the neocortex involved again is to quiet down the 2 lower brains so that you can remember, bringing the members of the brain back together, the 3 members of the whole brain. You can remember how to get upstairs to the neocortex. So disarming the 2 lower brains is one way to do it, and then promoting the neocortex. And if you do those things in tandem together, you have a likely more beneficial or positive outcome. Okay, so let's see how to do that in our yoga practice today. Okay, so good morning once again. Thanks for being here. Let's take a little time to sit together. I want to introduce a concept that we can apply to our yoga practice. So if you rest your hands in your lap, you're welcome to close your eyes. And as you come into the present moment here, you've already brought your body to the practice, so also bring your mind to the practice and your heart. And really specifically, bring your attention and your intention. And whenever we bring attention and intention to the present moment, we're able to engage the neocortex. And this means that we're kind of going upstairs to the wiser part of the brain, the more evolved part of the brain. And therefore, we're going to be able to provide some chaperoning to the 2 lower brains. So bring your attention and your intention. And sometimes it's difficult to focus our attention if the mind has been kind of regularly hijacking, like the horses on the merry-go-round on the carousel, bouncing up and down. So in that case, bring your attention to the weight of your hands in your lap, just right there on your knees. You may also notice the temperature of your hands. And then to give this a little bit more of a dynamic experience, so sometimes the mind feels like it needs something more dynamic, or we reach for caffeine in the morning and that's going to give us a boost. Let's do this with the hands. Lift your hands off your knees and shake them. And let the hands become kind of rubbery, so the fingers and thumbs are loosey-goosey. As you're shaking, you might feel that your fingers get a little bit heavier because the blood supply is going more towards your hands. And keep shaking. You might notice that it gets difficult to keep shaking, so that would just be like an experience of stamina. We're going to do 5 strong shakes like this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then rest your hands. Place them back on your knees if you like, and bring your attention to the experience of your hands. And let yourself notice whatever sensations happen to be there. And while you keep your mind focused there, then take a deep breath in, knowing that your body will know how to inhale sort of deeply and completely, and how to exhale completely. And then you could ask yourself, what would be one of my intentions for today, like as the day unfolds, or what is your intention for the next hour after yoga class? What is one thing you hope to be able to put your focus on or to commit to today? Maybe it's a quality in the mind or the heart, or it's an actual activity you have to follow through on. What is your intention? And let that kind of formulate, even if it's a little bit vague, let it formulate in the realm of the neocortex, the upper part of your brain. And perhaps if it's vague, what you can do is just know that you're connecting to the part of your brain and your neocortex that creates intention, that can sense purposeful focus. And then please raise your hands to your heart. We'll be moving today in our practice between attention and intention. Attention is to focus the mind on something right here in the present moment. And intention is something that we incline to do, we have a commitment to do, we have a way that we like to show up for ourselves or for our body, our heart, a way that we like to be present to someone else or some other responsibility that we have. And please take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, you can bow your head to your heart. Then release your hands and please open your eyes. One of the things that can happen in sort of like daily life, the kind of ongoing daily life experience, is that our brain goes into fight, flight, freeze, or submit. It goes into these 4 hardwire nervous system reactions. When that's happening, we're kind of retreating from the neocortex and going down to the middle brain and the lower brain, so the limbic brain and the lizard brain. And when we are there in the 2 lower brains, we have to promote ourselves to come upstairs to engage the neocortex again. There's a couple different ways to do that. I mean, there's many ways to do it, but a couple that are relevant for this morning. One is using attention and intention, and maybe even moving between the 2. You'll see that in our yoga practice today. Another way to get the neocortex involved again is to quiet down the 2 lower brains so that you can remember, bringing the members of the brain back together, the 3 members of the whole brain. You can remember how to get upstairs to the neocortex. So disarming the 2 lower brains is one way to do it, and then promoting the neocortex. And if you do those things in tandem together, you have a likely more beneficial or positive outcome. Okay, so let's see how to do that in our yoga practice today. Let's come up to standing. When you come up to stand, place your feet so they're a little bit wider than hip distance. And then lift onto your toes, like really slightly, so you're going to be bouncing. And when you're doing this little bit of bouncing, you're shaking off the residue in the nervous system, or you're shaking off the moment of fight, flight that you might have just had. Let's say in daily life, you're out and about and something happens. So you can just kind of shake a little bit and give your body a chance to release what it actually contracted in the fight or flight. So start to let the arms be more like little marionettes, so they can also bounce around. What happens with fight or flight is that we feel constricted or contracted. We get kind of revved up, but we aren't sure where to put that energy, especially if we were trained not to express emotions. So this little bit of shaking is to let that out. Now let's put the heels down and shake the arms vigorously. And then start to shake the arms forward and to the side and then overhead. And then 5 times we're going to go down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and stand really still. Bring your attention to your hands, fingers, and thumbs. And go to the part of your mind that can create intention. Like, what would your intention be for this moment? For this practice, for this day, for a certain responsibility that you have? What is your intention? Okay, now to give even a little bit more of a boost, this sort of shake off process, we're going to do this rapid breathing practice where we're going to quickly bring in and exhale in and out. So quickly bringing in resources, quickly dispelling the stress or the tension. We're going to move the arms as we do it. So this is another way of shaking off that fight or flight experience. So it's going to be fists when we go back and fingers when we go forward. And you can cross the hands alternating whichever one's on top. So like this. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now let your arms swing until they get still. Bend your knees a little bit. And take a deep breath in through the nose. And then exhale, stand up straight, relax both arms, and drop your attention into your hands, fingers, and thumbs. Even though there's a lot of other things you could pay attention to, set your focus in your hands. To the part of your mind that can give attention. In Hunger, Hope, and Healing, we call it getting in the gap, getting grounded, paying attention, becoming present. The part of the mind that can do that is up in the neocortex. And this part of your brain and your mind also produce things like context, perspective, forgiveness, kindness, compassion, collaboration. So focus on your hands. Turn your palms face forward. Inhale, raise them up overhead. And then exhale and bow forward. We can keep the feet a little bit wider than the hips and drop down into Uttanasana. You can take off your glasses if you're wearing them. As you come down, please bend your knees a little bit so the torso is really relaxed. And as you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, bring attention to the sensations of the air coming and going through your nose. In a way, I am asking you to narrow the aperture of what you're paying attention to, as you might narrow the aperture of a camera. Focus your attention on just the air coming in and going out through the nose. And then please shift your hands to your hips. Rise up to standing. And when you come up to stand, place your mind again in the part of you that can make or feel into intention, that can create an intention. Like maybe your intention today is to be peaceful or kind or to make a contribution, or your intention is to clean the kitchen cupboard because you've been postponing it for months. Or your intention is to promote your neocortex more often. Now I'd like you to reach for a yoga strap. So when we get into that fight or flight, and I'll talk about freeze submit in class today too, but when we get into that fight or flight, we do become constricted. It's one of the hallmark experiences of one of the symptoms of fight or flight is we become constricted because the body wants to promote this kind of toning up of the muscle if we're going to fight or we're going to flee. So we need to have the resources on board, but so often our fight or flight reflex is not actually about going into a fight, nor is it about actually running away from something. It's happening while we're sitting at a desk or we're in the car, we're in conversation. So let's release again the fabric of the body so we can disarm the held residue of previous fight or flights. And then we can demote the likelihood that the middle brain is going to keep choosing that again and again. Right? So make the loop in your strap so that it's just shoulder width apart. So that's too wide for me. So I'll make it a little bit smaller. Of course, if your shoulders are stiff, you can make it wider. You don't have to go just for shoulder width, but it is my recommendation. And then take the strap up overhead. Now, as you press out into your yoga strap with both hands, stand firmly in both feet and reach up. And as you're reaching up, you'll notice that the body becomes elongated and the muscles on the front hemisphere of the body, which kind of contract, if we're going to run, we have to contract this part of the body. If we're going to fight, we're going to protect this part of the body. So instead of that, reach up and stretch, breathe in, and breathe out, keeping the breath smooth is another way to support the neocortex because you are taking leadership from upstairs in your brain and providing that support to the two lower brains. Now, as you exhale, bend your elbows, hold the strap and bring it behind your head. So the elbows go out to the side. You can place the strap at the base of your skull. Lean your head very slightly back, squeeze the elbows back and look up. And then exhale, press your arms back up towards the ceiling. Inhale one more time, lift your rib cage, reach up. Catch the strap in one hand only and exhale, bring your arms down. And let the arms dangle. And notice slowly, slowly your hands are going to start having sensations. Tingling, warming, getting a little bit heavier again. Place your attention there. And then take the strap part of your strap, with the strappy part, this leftover piece, the tail, and hold it so it's shoulder width apart. Put your thumbs on the strap so that when you're holding it, you've got your fists, but the thumb is on the strap. And that's because I want you to keep your thumbs, you can press them forward to straighten the wrist right here. And then inhale, raise up. Slide your hands apart as you come down. And now it might not look like my hands went very far apart because I do have flexible shoulders. But take your hands as far apart as you need to. Press out into the strap, use your thumbs. Your thumbs are very important. They have a lot of responsibility and sometimes they get really tight during stress also. So press from your heart down your arms into your thumbs, making the thumb prints strong. And breathe in. And breathe out. One more time, breathe in. And then exhale and slide your hands down. And one more time, let the arms dangle. And bring your attention to your hands. Let that be all you need to give attention to right now. Okay, and then take the loop part for one more. Put this behind you. Put your hands into the loop so that your palms are going to face each other. Press your shoulders really strongly back. Reach the arms back, so reach them back like that. And as you're reaching back, squeeze the upper back, squeeze the muscles behind the shoulder blades and between the shoulder blades, underneath the shoulder blades. Give a good strong squeeze, lift your chest and your heart, open your throat. So the muscles on the front of the body are more often contracted and the muscles on the back of the body are more often weakened. So press back with your shoulders, stretch your throat. And then exhale, relax both arms, catch the strap in one hand, and let your arms dangle again and notice. And if your body starts to yawn or feel like, oh my gosh, like whatever I'm releasing there, you feel so tired or so relieved, or your energy gets freed up, or you realize how deeply fatigued you are, let all of that be in your awareness. We're releasing the residue from the body, so you're getting deeper information from yourself. This is one reason that we come to the place in us that can create or set an intention, but we have to keep listening if that's going to get updated throughout the course of the practice. Right, so now take a wide stance. Put the strap in one hand, and if the loop feels too big for you, you can make it smaller now. Something like this. Let's put the strap in the right hand. Okay, now I don't want the strap to hit you in the head, so when you come up overhead with your right arm, put your strap behind you, like that. And then breathing in. Tone your legs from your feet to your hips. Reach back and hold the strap with your left hand, and as you pull back with the left hand, pull up with the right. And then side bend to your left. And as you're side bending, please keep your feet, your legs, your hips really stable. So the side bend is about the upper torso. When we have a fight or flight reaction, we also constrict the intercostal muscles. They get activated. So breathe into the space between your ribs. The intercostal muscles are the ones between your ribs. With your next inhale, raise back up to center, reach your right hand up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, keep the tension on the strap and open your right arm out to the side. Notice that it has to reach against the tension you have on the strap. And take a deep breath in, and exhale, let that come down. Great, relax your face and notice what's happening with your hands. Again, become aware of your attention, focusing. And then take the loop into your left hand. Bring it up overhead so your arm is going to be straight and strong. Keep your feet and hips stable. Let's reach back with the right hand. Reach up and then arc a little side bend to your left. And do keep the left rib cage open. And imagine the breath. It starts in the pelvis, of course, and then you can imagine sending your breath into the left side of the torso, and up into the left rib cage, so the intercostals get to expand. So begin your inhale in the pelvis and bring the inhale up to your left rib cage, left upper chest, upper back. Okay, and then inhale, raise up to center. Keep the left arm straight. And as you open your left arm out to the side, use the right hand on the strap to cause a little resistance. Notice that resistance there through your left arm. And then exhale and let that also come down. And as it comes down, you might notice the temperature of your left hand relative to the temperature of your right hand. Every moment you bring awareness or attention, you're promoting the neocortex. That's really important. Okay, now with this wide stance, let's put the strap aside and then come down to Prasarita Padottanasana. Place your fingers on the floor or on some blocks if you prefer. So after releasing, let's say, a fight or flight activation, like the biochemistry of fight or flight, we then want to be able to come back down and into the body. So we come down to Prasarita Padottanasana, relax the weight of your head, and start breathing more lovingly, more deeply into your pelvis. Also allow yourself to exhale more thoughtfully, perhaps more completely. Now we're going to walk the hands forward on the mat. So you stretch your right hand out, left hand out like the upper body is doing downward dog pose. Press your fingerprints and your thumbprints down against the floor. Reach back with your hips, lengthen your spine. And now on the inhale, I'd like you to imagine that you're filling up a parachute in the back of the body. And on the exhale, imagine the torso more like a hammock, relaxing down towards the floor. And let this undulation happen with your breath. So there's a very slight rise on the inhale and a very slight descent on the exhale. Notice whatever sensations are present, and know that as you give attention to those sensations without judging them, without coercing them, you're coming up into your neocortex as a resource. And exhale. And please walk your hands back towards your feet. Relax the weight of your head. Shift your hands up to your hips. And rise up to standing. As you come up to stand, let's go heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, come to mountain pose. And then just take notice, how are you standing in yourself right now? What is the feeling of embodiment? What's changed in the nervous system? And from this place, go into the part of your mind that creates intention, that could kind of forge an intention for today. What might it need to be, really? And if your intention sounds strict or punishing or undoable, it's probably not an intention from your neocortex. It's probably an implicit message pattern from your limbic brain, something that you learned to do as a much younger person. So our intentions don't usually come across as strict or punitive or undoable. So listen for the part of you that makes intention. Okay, now let's imagine that, go ahead and come down to the floor. Let's imagine that instead of getting into a fight or flight experience, which the practice that you just had would be beneficial for, let's say that you got into a kind of freeze submit, you were collapsing, or you feel lethargic or kind of frozen or immobilized. That is a very different experience in the nervous system. It has a technical term. It's called freeze submit, but it's also called your dorsal vagal parasympathetic suppression. I added the word suppression there because it's helpful for us to sense that the body on purpose is suppressing the parasympathetic nervous system because we feel like we need to go kind of like underground, right? We're hiding, or we become exhausted or depleted, right? We don't know what to do. And even like reaching the arm out would be like a huge effort, or we get frozen and we don't even want to reach our gaze out into the world. So in that case, please lie on your back with your strap close by. Now, frequently when you're lying, let's say that you were lying down and you had a freeze submit reaction. Frequently, you're not lying on your back in that case. You're probably lying on your side in a fetal position, or maybe you're lying in bed face down and just feeling like really heavy or morose. So let's imagine that already turning onto your back is a more open position. So we're already shifting the nervous system from freeze or apathy towards a little bit of possibility. Of course, if you lie on your back like this, that's probably not possibility or opportunity. So just keeping that in mind, when you come onto your back, notice the sensations of connecting with the ground. Take a deep breath in and allow yourself to exhale as well as you can. And then bring your right knee up to your chest and lengthen your left leg out on the floor. Now we bring the right knee to the chest first because I want to massage the ascending colon. One thing that happens with this dorsal vagal is that we powerfully suppress the digestive, immune, and endocrine systems. And so as we massage the right abdomen, you're also massaging the ascending colon. Let's take a deep breath in. Keep the left leg long and strong. Reach out through the back of your heel. With your next inhale, straighten your right leg, whatever amount you can do, without your thigh moving away from your chest. So it doesn't matter how straight your leg is, because we're going to exhale and then bend the right knee completely again so that your thigh is still against your chest. Do that again. Inhale. And exhale. So notice that what you're doing here is adding what we call the reach reflex. You're reaching with your foot, but it is a part of the reach reflex, which gets kind of immobilized during that freeze submit experience. Let's do this one more time. Inhale, reach, even if your leg does not get straight, it's okay. And then exhale and take the right leg down. Slowly, slowly, all the way to the floor. It's going to get heavier as you get closer to the ground. And then let your right leg drop to the ground. And notice the gentle temperature of your right leg returning. And now bring your left knee up to your chest. And as you squeeze in, you're massaging the descending colon. As you lengthen the straight leg on the floor, you're also opening the psoas muscle there. Here in the descending colon, let's keep the left knee hugged in. Your breath is going to come down as a massage in the abdomen. Of course, it's absolutely fine if the left knee is not comfortable coming right up against the abdomen for any reason. You can take it a little bit out to the side so it's easier to breathe. And then as you next inhale, raise your left heel up using the reach reflex. Exhale, bend. So you're going to release the effort. Inhale, reach. So you're stretching muscles and nerves and the mind. Exhale, bend. Let's do that one more time. Inhale to reach up. And exhale, keeping your left leg straight. Let's come down slowly. When you get towards the floor, about an inch or so from the floor, then drop your left leg to the ground. Notice the temperature of your leg getting a little bit warmer again. Now reach for your yoga strap. And you can make the loop bigger or smaller as needed for you. And place your right foot up in the strap with your right hand. To add your hand, you go like this. Go under between your shin and your strap. Put your hand in and then wrap your fingers around it. So it's a much easier hold for your wrist rather than trying to clutch it with your fingers. As the right leg goes up, I want you to put the strap across the mounds of the toes because it's a stronger place on your foot. And you can kind of gently press up against the strap. We're not going to point the toes, but it's going to give you some strength in your foot. And rotate your right knee and your right toes a little bit to the right and start coming really slowly out to the side. Listen for the place in your body where the sensations are not so strong that your attention becomes kind of constricted. The sensation should feel like a relief, like a kindness. And you come to a place in your own body where the sensations are kind and you have not tipped over to the right. The left hip is still grounded. You can open your left arm for a little bit of counterbalance, but do keep the left hip grounded. And breathe in. Notice that this is also the reach reflex as you lengthen through your right leg. And even as you stretch your left arm out opposite. And then let's inhale, raise the right leg back up to center. And release your foot from the strap and come down really slowly. But as your right leg is lowering, you have a sense of the strength, and then let it drop. And you'll have a sense of the circulation returning into your right leg. Now the other side. Okay, so take the left foot up in the strap. And with your left hand, reach between your shin and your strap, and then put your wrist in there. So you're going to hold it with your fingers around the two sides of the strap, but the primary hold is actually from your wrist. Open your right arm. Put the strap across the mounds of the toes, and put a little bit of effort into the mounds of the toes. Notice the sensations of your body without any sense of judgment whatsoever. These are just your sensations. They can't be made wrong or bad. And as you reach up with that reach reflex, rotate your left knee and your toes to your left. And once you rotate from your hip socket and your thigh bone, then open out to the left. Again, without any sense that you're going to tip over. So keep the right hip grounded. Open your right arm opposite for a little support. And as you come out to your left, find a place where your threshold, the stretch is kind and your mind does not get constricted or contracted around things. It still feels spacious and loving. Now breathing in, keep the right hip grounded. Breathing out, you can tone the low belly. And then inhale, raise your left leg back up to center. Unhook it from the strap and slowly bring your left leg back down. And as you're coming down, it's going to get a little heavier. Tone the low belly as needed. And then about an inch from the floor, drop your leg down. Notice if it gets a little bit warmer or a little bit tingly. And then bend your knees, please. And roll to your side. So let's say that you had then a fight or flight reaction, or you found yourself feeling immobilized, like stuck in bed. The second practice there is more for when you get immobilized. The first one is more for when that fight or flight's taking over. So let's say now in herbal medicine, we have certain herbs that are called adaptogens, and they help the nervous system to either come down from that sympathetic arousal or to raise up from a dorsal vagal collapse. So an adaptogen knows what you need, and it does either one of those things. And I like to think of some yoga poses as adaptogen, like downward facing dog pose. It's a kind of middle path pose. It's an adaptogen. It raises us up for energy, or it calms us down when needed. So I guess I'm not going to get my partner to demonstrate here. He's doing the side lying cat pose. I'm sorry, did I bother you? Oh, I thought you came in here for pets. You can demonstrate side lying cat pose again if you want. Okay, different cat pose. All right, so what we're going to do for dog pose is place your hands on your yoga mat so your hands are shoulder width apart. Point the index fingers forward. And first, get a really strong sense of pushing the floor away from you. Not only is that helpful if you had like a fight reaction and you had nothing to fight against, you push down. It's also helpful if you had kind of collapsed or succumbed and you want to energize a little bit from the inside. So make both arms strong, curl your toes under, and then raise your hips high and reach into your downward facing dog pose. In downward dog pose, it's okay if you cannot straighten the legs completely. The focus is actually on the strength of the arms and the length of your spine. Please relax the weight of your head. Even if you need to bend the knees to reach the hips high, go ahead and do that. So your body weight is pushing back into your hips. And that pressure to reach back into your hips comes from the strength of your arms. So actively press the floor away from you. Enjoy another deep breath in. And then exhale and come forward and down to table pose. Drop your hips back to your heels and come to kneeling. So find your way, just come to kneeling and check and see if you can feel why I described downward dog pose as an adaptogen, why it does both things. It raises us up and it calms us down. And we're going to do it again, and we're going to add a certain kind of breathing. So in the breath, let's do inhale, whatever that length is. We're going to make the exhale equal to the inhale. So that's called sama pranayama or samavriti, which means we're balancing. And so it's again kind of an adaptogenic breathing practice. So let's place both hands in table pose. Again, press firmly down. Hello, Nakula. Press with the strength of both arms. Curl your toes under. Raise your hips high and reach back into downward facing dog pose. Release the weight of your head and then focus on inhaling. Whatever that length is, balance your inhale with your exhale. And see if you can make a balanced breath cycle for 3 breath cycles consecutively. You have to really concentrate. You'll need your attention and to practice without distraction. And then touch your knees down and sit back once more to kneeling and take notice if the breath added an additional quality of an adaptogen response. You might feel energized, but also grounded. Another pose that can act like an adaptogen is a twisting practice, particularly seated twist. So if you'll take a blanket to sit on, and I'm going to fold mine in thirds, so just one blanket folded in thirds. You can decide how you want to have your blanket. Take a seat. The reason that this is helpful is that when we twist, we constrict across the diaphragm, and that brings the breath down into the lower abdomen. It has to go there primarily because of the shape of the pose. As we're twisting, we're kind of wringing out the abdomen. And in both freeze, submit, and fight, flight, we disconnect from the trunk and we don't have the breath coming down into the belly. In freeze, submit, it's like a very shallow, like a collapse. We might have the breath a little bit like up in the chest. We're not really breathing into the abdomen. In fight or flight, we're like pumped up. And so the breath is also coming up in that case. So we want to be able to bring the breath back down. The other reason that twisting poses are adaptogens is that as you're twisting, you're mobilizing your thoracic spine. And that acts as an antidepressant, but it also helps us to open the chest where we're not in fight or flight, right? So it's a more open-hearted position. So cross your left hand over your right knee, put the right hand behind you, and twist to your right. And see if you could bring with you a balanced breath cycle, even if the breath is a little shorter when you're twisting relative to your downward dog. Do one more breath cycle, balancing your inhale with your exhale. And then exhale, come around to face forward. For novelty and variation, cross the ankles the other way. So switch which one was on top. Cross your right hand over your left knee and walk your left hand around behind you. And as you twist left, see if you can again bring in the sama pranayama, the balancing of the breath. So if you were in a situation where you wanted to calm the nervous system from fight or flight, you would lengthen the exhale. And if you were in a situation where you had to give yourself a little bit of a pickup from a dorsal vagal collapse, you would lengthen your inhale. When we balance them, we're balancing the two parts of the nervous system to come back to homeostasis. And then exhale, rotate around to face forward. And let's check and see. When you place your attention on your body, do you feel like it may have a little bit more balance between feeling grounded and energized? And from this place, if you now go to the part of your mind that creates intention, what is present there? So considering your intention for the day or for the next hour, it probably doesn't have an undertone of perfectionism or punishment or severity. So intention tends to be a little bit more coming from wisdom, a little bit more coming from kindness. And as we then fulfill that intention, we increase our abilities for wisdom, kindness, perspective, and so on. Okay, let's take this blanket that we're sitting on and please put it under your knees. And then if you have a second blanket, as I happen to be lucky enough to have, place that one over the legs or over the whole body, whatever your personal preference would be. I didn't quite get my feet, so I'm going to do some blanket gymnastics. I was successful. I have a lot of experience with blanket gymnastics after so many years of yoga. Okay, and then take the palms face up. Tuck your shoulder blades under your heart. The chest is a little bit open. Welcome your cat. Hello. Lakula. And then come to rest. Close your eyes and come into the place in you that can pay attention without judgment. Give attention to the present moment. And as you give attention to the present moment, release what you've been holding from the past. Release any anticipation of the future. Allow yourself to rest right here, moment to moment. Notice the whole of the body relaxing, the entirety, fingers and toes, eyelids, quadriceps. Notice the sensations of dropping in, like your limbs get heavier, the muscles relax. Release your tongue. As you rest, bring in an attitude of kindness for yourself. May you be well and happy. May you be well and happy and at ease. Allow yourself to deeply rest, noticing again the sensations of ease. May you be well and happy and at ease in these moments. Now allowing your body to stay grounded and restful. Just lightly wiggle your fingers and your toes. And bend one knee at a time. Roll to your side. Press yourself up to sitting. Now you've had a whole bath for your nervous system. So take a seat. And what we do here, I'm going to keep my blanket. I don't have the heat on in my room, so I'm going to cozy up. What we do now is when you come upright, picture this neocortex. It's up here in the front of the head. And you can ask, just for confirmation, you're going to ask again, your inner kind of wise self. How could you forge an intention for today? It could be an intention about your work or your parenting, or one for each, or an intention about how you want to care for your body, or how you'd like to have your relationship with food. As you go upstairs to the neocortex, forging that intention, your two lower brains are seeing you do that. They're going to start trusting you more when they see you taking a little inside leadership, inner leadership. You can raise your hands to your heart, please. So this is what we call being reflective to create an intention versus being reflexive to create like a regime, right? Which we've all done at some point if you're here in Hunger, Hope, and Healing. So as we reflect to create an intention, may we feel supported as we go about the day, and may this practice benefit you. Thank you for being here. Namaste. And of course, if you have any questions about the practice, any comments, anything you'd like to share, you can put that in the comments below the video. And it's also very helpful if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the videos so I can see what content is landing for you and where I'm able to be helpful for you. So thank you once again.